Hey, 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 welcome to Eat Out at Home, the podcast. This is the place for foodies who want to learn how to cook better, eat healthier, dine together, and enjoy some gourmet every day. I'm your host, Chef Evelyn, and on this podcast, I share with you my best chef secrets that I've learned from teaching thousands of people how to cook via online and in-person cooking classes, healthy eating workshops, and from my well-seasoned career in the culinary field. Listen, I've been cooking for over 20 years, so I know my way around the kitchen. If you're ready to spice things up in that department, then just consider me your secret ingredient. So, if you're ready, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's dive right in. Hey, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Eat Out at Home, the podcast. And today I want to talk to my fellow bakers out there and aspiring bakers who love baking during the holidays. Baking during the holidays has to be one of my favorite activities. I think it's something that I look forward to all year long because who else am I going to feed all this sugar to? I'm not going to eat it all. And so I definitely feel like this is just for the bakers out there, this is our time to shine. And so I wanted to share with you some tips of things that I have done over the years that have made my holiday baking specifically more enjoyable. I've done an episode about kind of preparing your kitchen and your pantry for the holidays. I've done some hosting tips, but this one is specifically for my bakers out there. So even if you're not hosting, maybe you're helping, maybe you're going to someone's house, maybe you're bringing desserts, maybe you just like baking and having baked goods around for the holidays, and that's something that you enjoy, then this episode is for you. So I want to start off by saying that, typically, at least in the southern United States during the holiday season, there are a lot of pies. And one of the things that I love and I just can't live without is homemade pie crust. And so one of the things I like to do is just take maybe an hour or two early in the season and make pie dough and freeze it and just have it on hand. It's one of those things where it doesn't take long. Pie dough isn't super complicated, but it can really slow down the process when you are ready to make pie. And it's like, oh, you got to make the pie dough and then you've got to chill the pie dough and then you've got it right. Like it could really, really slow you down. But if you have, 4 or 6 pie doughs in the freezer, you can just grab one, defrost it in your fridge the night before, and you're ready to roll, par bake, fill, and bake when you are ready to make your pie. So whether it's pie dough, whether it's tart dough, making it, maybe 2 weeks in advance before, the really hustle and bustle of whatever particular holidays you're celebrating, it's like great to just have on hand in the freezer. So listen, do like I do. If you want to, let me know if pie is something that you enjoy during the holidays. Another thing that I like to do is I like to stock up on butter and stick it in the freezer because nothing's worse. Listen, there's a lot of butter that's happening when you're baking. This, the cakes, the pies, the cookies, there's so much butter being used. And I like to stock up because there's nothing worse than getting to a recipe and realizing, oh, because I used a little extra butter in this savory dish, or I used butter over here, that I am a stick short. I like to stock up on butter, have it in the freezer throughout the holiday season, and I like to keep topping it off, right? It lasts, it'll be fine. And if I have extra in the season, then at the beginning of the year, it can just go in the freezer and I can just pull it out and use it as need be. One of my favorite things, and I actually learned this from someone that I like to call me mom. So growing up, my mom had a best friend, and my mom's best friend, we called her me mom. That was her grandmother name. And one of the things that me mom always used to do in the holidays is she took a day and she would just make a myriad of cookie dough. We're talking 6 or 7 different types of cookie dough. And then she would just roll them up and freeze them. And so all throughout the holidays, we just had fresh baked cookies. Anytime you went to visit them or on the actual holiday for the kids or whatever, you could always have hot, fresh baked cookies. And as an adult, I have a really good friend here that I've known for several years, and she does something called a cookie-a-thon. And I know she's not listening, but hey, girl, hey, if you ever listen to this episode, you know who you are. And she does something very similar, which is she will just make 5 or 6 different type of cookie dough batters. But the difference between her and me, mom, is that she'll bake them in real time, and we'll just sit there and we'll just eat hot cookies until we're sick in our stomachs, which I don't advise, but it's such a good time. We call it the cookie-a-thon. But having pre-made cookie dough in your favorite flavors or your family's favorite flavors, and then you can just, if somebody comes over, you can just slice and bake, or just, or if you scoop it, you can just do 4 cookies at a time, right? And, or you can even fully bake certain cookies. Like I love Madeline's. I think that's my favorite cookie. Have those baked, frozen, defrost them with a little tea, a little apple cider, a little hot cocoa, whatever your favorite, holiday drink is. My friend who does the cookie-a-thon, she loves what she likes to call happy coffee. And it's just a moment. It's a vibe. It's just a whole thing. Like I know as a baker that you can relate to that. So having pre-made cookie dough in the freezer on hand, ready to bake at whim. Listen, if I didn't live alone, I probably would do this all year round, but it's a dangerous thing because then every day it's like, I just, in 10 minutes, I could have a nice, hot, warm cookie, fresh baked from the oven. I love that, but I particularly love it during the holidays. I talked about this next tip in some previous episodes, but it bears repeating. Stock up on your essentials, particularly baking, flour, baking soda, baking powder, sugars of different types, vanilla in different forms, extract, paste, whatever you use, non-stick baking spray if you use that, chocolate chips, nuts, evaporated milk, sweetened condensed milk, powdered sugar, whatever you use for baking, spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, cloves, apple pie spice, pumpkin pie spice, whatever you use, get it in advance, get it early. Don't wait till the week of that major holiday and be trying to buy it. Have it on hand, have it ready to go. Okay. Now this is for my serious bakers out there, and I've done this before, is I will take deli cups and pre-mise my dry ingredients for different recipes. So I talked in another episode about pre-planning your menus. If you kind of know that you already are going to be baking certain things during the holidays, even if you're not hosting the whole menu, I will pre-mise my dry ingredients and label them, right? So let's say I know I'm baking a pound cake. I will pre-mise the flour with the salt and the baking powder, and then I will also pre-mise the sugar and have that ready to go. Maybe stick a vanilla pod in there to, make it even more fragrant. And I will label that. And then all I've got to do when it's time to bake is mix and go. I know it's like not that much of a time difference, but to do it when I'm not tired, when I'm already thinking about it, I'll just stick it in the pantry or in a cabinet, label it with some tape and a Sharpie, and have it ready to go. And then that way also, as I'm cooking throughout the holiday season, I already know that I have enough of that ingredient set aside, right? That I won't get to the day before or the day of and be like, oh my gosh, I ran out of sugar because I ended up making this other thing the other day, or I'm out of cake flour, or whatever the case may be. So pre-mising some of my ingredients in deli cups or however you want to store them, labeling them and setting them to the side in the pantry. It's a small little hack, but it is such a time saver, and it gives you peace of mind, and it lets you enjoy the process of baking, and it makes it a lot less stressful. Also stock up on parchment paper, pre-cut parchment, plastic wrap, foil, all of that. And particularly if you're making things like cookies or bars or cakes like that, some kind of to-go container so you can give these goods away, because who is eating all of this sugar? Who is going to be eating all of these desserts, right? I love to stock up on different things, to-go containers, but particularly if I'm baking, right? Even if I'm baking and I'm taking it to somebody else's house, right? I may bring some to-go containers with me because they may not have it and they may want people to give it away. Now that's up to them, but I bring it just in case. Also, calibrate your oven. If you haven't, now if you're a baker, you're probably baking all year round, but if you don't bake a lot or you're using your oven for other things that aren't desserts, get an oven thermometer and make sure that when you set it to 350, that thing is not at 395. Okay. Like you want to make sure that, everything's working properly, because this is not the time for it not to do what you want to do. There's nothing more stressful. There's nothing that sucks the joy out of baking than an oven that's not calibrated. Okay. I would also say, as a bonus, buy a digital food scale. And, if you're starting to move into baking that comes in more formulaic and metric measurements than volume, American measurements, a kitchen scale is, super inexpensive and so valuable. And again, makes your baking more precise. So, I have a kitchen scale. It typically only comes out during the holidays. I definitely am using volume a lot throughout the year when I'm just baking for me. But yeah, I just wanted to share some of these holiday baking tips for my fellow bakers out there who really just enjoy this time of the year. It's fall, the leaves have turned, right? The temperatures are dropping. Some days we have this kind of cloudy, rainy days, and you just want to put some music on in the background, and you just want to bake something absolutely delicious and shared with the loved ones in your life. So let me know, what are some holiday baking tips that you like to abide by? Leave a comment on this podcast, which you can now do, which is amazing. Or, take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram and let me know what are some of your favorite holiday baking tips. And I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, head on over to ChefEvelyn.com and join the Inside Dish. That's the place where you and I can stay connected and where I can send you culinary inspiration, occasional recipes, and some food for thought. And if you're curious about what I'm cooking in between episodes, then follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for some more delicious behind the scenes. Don't forget to jump on over to iTunes and leave a review. And remember, it's absolutely okay to enjoy some gourmet every day. I'll see you next time.